Let's go above the clouds with Project Vulcan. The beloved Mr. Spock from the science fiction series Star Trek was a Vulcan. The Vulcans used to be like humans, but their ego and belligerent emotions almost destroyed their society until they embraced logic as a way of life in order to save their civilization. Sound a little familiar? Star Trek inspired me as a child and so many others to believe in the magnificent possibilities of the future. But if you look at the world today, sadly, another sci-fi franchise, Dune, might be more realistic. However, let's talk about how we must upgrade to the digital age in order to let logic have a chance. I'm Maria Connor, both an entertainer and tech executive. Believe it or not, these have a lot in common. They both require the right and the left brain to work together. We are in a cyber war right now, both a civil and world war. The biggest problem at the moment is social media algorithms and propaganda dividing and distracting us. And when might an attack on our infrastructure happen? What would happen if big portions of the power grid, cell phones, and social media access was disrupted at the same time? It's not clear who our enemies are. It's all hands on deck, and we cannot afford to beat around the bush. Half the U.S. seems to treat social media and politics as if it were a wrestling match. The other half being interested in having logical conversations, which is really hard to do on existing social media networks because of the emphasis on hate and division instead of logical engagement. Thus, we need to extend or support newer social networks designed for logical discourse. Yes, it will be hard to get engagement, but much easier if we start small and focus on those who are already trying to engage on specific issues. And we can use this to extend into a more public sphere. As far as the wrestling match is concerned, we have already clearly seen that trying to engage is a waste of time. We should mostly ignore them for now, other than monitoring what they're doing and saying. One of the first things that one must do in any war is to establish secure communications. But as you can clearly see, all of the most prominent social media apps have been compromised. Thus, we need to create new networks in scale, and we need to do it now. It's not feasible to change these existing networks. The wrestling match not only completely dominates the social media sphere, it also controls as much as 3/4 of the news market. Fox Entertainment, viewership rose over 30% in 2024 and even higher in the 25 to 54-year-old demographic, while MSNBC dropped over 50% after the election. What's the worst thing that can happen? The collapse of democracy. And it might start small and then build. The wrestling match dominates the media and is growing fast. What do we logical Vulcans have? We lose our privacy whenever we engage in social media. But the big question is, what do they do with this information? And also the myriad of others in this ecosystem. Remember, the best propaganda is wrapped in half-truths. Thus, it's infeasible to police and scale. They have built and refined a machine over centuries. And now they have the technology to customize it based on people's behavior. All of it recorded. And our human business leaders who run these networks will hide behind claims that they're just trying to connect people, even if the divisions of the country and the spurring of hate is staring them right in the face. Understanding the power of tech and AI in scale requires a vivid imagination. It's much worse than most people think. The tactics used by social media fit into several categories. Firstly, what is the impact? Low or high? Secondly, are these tactics visible or hidden? For example, there is much talk about unscrupulous targeted advertising, which is somewhat hidden but moderate impact. Our biggest concerns are tactics that are not only high impact, but are hidden. We don't know it's happening until it's too late. Let's look at some examples. First, we start with those which are part and parcel of algorithms that simply increase engagement. Even an unbiased AI would come to the conclusion that those are good for the platform, even if free speech was actually a real goal of the platform. Then you have those which happen as a result of this, but are likely influenced further by those designing the algorithms because they think they are helping the world by promoting their beliefs. Well, these people just have bad ideas. Remember, most criminals don't think they're doing anything wrong because they think they're just doing what's fair. And then we have those actions which are downright nefarious and dystopian, where AI is weaponized to find those on social media who are enemies of the state, or should I say, enemies of business, and then AI on other platforms are used to punish them. And finally, one that can be used at a critical point in the war. All powerful technologies, for example AI, can be used for good, like Mr. Spock and Captain Kirk working with the computer to solve problems, or bad, like in 2001: A Space Odyssey, when the computer HAL thought Dave Bowman was jeopardizing the mission because he felt it necessary to disable the computer. When Dave was trying to get back into the ship, he asked Hal to open the pod bay doors, please. And Hal responded, "I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that." A simple AI rule is to just treat it like a person who is not 100% trusted. Don't allow them to enforce any decisions or recommendations on their own. In other words, don't let them press any buttons. To be more blunt, hold all the humans accountable for the decisions and recommendations made by an AI. Management or government not understanding the tech is not an excuse. Engineers not understanding the impact of their work on the whole system, human workflow, and the impact of their designs is not an excuse. Everybody is accountable. For example, when PCs came out in the early 80s, everybody needed to learn how to use them. And AI is no different, except that it's even more powerful. It's not really that complicated. For example, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that nuclear material is dangerous. It's the scientist's job to provide a summary, like starting with a simple scale of the danger level, that everybody can understand about the characteristics of different nuclear material. Information needs to be presented in different layers of detail. For example, with nuclear material. And the same with AI. Start at the top to understand the workflow, which ultimately drives engineering, not the other way around. Quite frankly, highly technical people have a habit of confusing others by drowning them in irrelevant technical details. It's very natural to them because they see the world through this limited lens. It also gives them power, and they have no incentive to improve their vision. Most of them do not respect anything non-technical, and this hubris gets us all into big trouble. And there are certain opportunistic people who will use this to get money and power. They're banking on not enough of us doing anything about it. And they will try to diffuse our efforts by striking at our social media communications, hoping we don't notice because it's hidden. And they fully expect most of us to spend our energy on the hamster wheel of the social media black hole instead of more actively engaging. And remember, they don't think they're doing anything wrong. They hide behind disorganized complexity. Oh, and who else is lurking about?
Who invited this useful idiot? No solid morals and no solid plans. Who's the highest bidder? He's your man. He's got a pea-sized brain, but he's the wittiest. The powers that be need the useful idiot. I'm so sick of it, this useful idiot. I'm so sick of it, this useful idiot.